días, amigos y amigas de Breaking News. Miren que hoy estamos en un episodio más, un capítulo más. Este que te habla Jorge Ramos Luego y estoy con Enrique Fernández, Arturo Ferrer. Y hoy estamos de Cata virtual. ¿Y qué vamos a estar probando hoy? Saludos a todos los que nos están viendo. Rieguen la voz, dale share, llama a la vecina, dale like. Hoy vamos a estar hablando del proceso que hay detrás de una cerveza sin alcohol. ¿Qué es esta cerveza? Se llama Ceria Brewing. Y hoy nos acompaña Joey Maldonado de Craft Beer Puerto Rico. Joey, ¿cómo estás? Joey está hablando. Joey, ¿me escuchas también? Y por el otro lado tenemos a Greg Miller, que es el Business Development de Ceria Brewing. How you doing, Greg?
Very well. Thanks for having us.
Y no menos importante, tenemos a Keith Vila, que es el maestro cervecero, el dueño y señor de Ceria Brewing. How you doing, Keith?
Mucho gusto. I'm doing very fine. Cheers.
Oh, nice.
Salud. Cheers. So,
thank you both for being here tonight. Yeah. Thank you for a lot for your time.
Oh, it's our pleasure to be here. Yes, thank you so much for having us on. We look forward to really talking about beer and talking about, in particular, our beer that does not have alcohol.
Awesome. That's a good topic.
That's interesting.
We can drink plenty of it. That's perfect for us.
Well, it's great because you can actually pace yourself. So on a Friday night, you might have an IPA, and then you could have one of our beers, and then maybe a different IPA and one of ours. And so after 6 beers, you're not drunk. You can keep going. So it makes it fun.
Yeah. I had to get drunk when I'm drinking.
I gotta try that schedule you suggested. That sounds like a good time. Instead of the water in between, grab one. And you're good to go.
Well, the nice part is here in Colorado, we have the non-alcoholic beer. So this is our non-alcoholic beer, and we also have the legal cannabis beer made with THC. So the same one is right here. Nice. So this one is THC. This one is not THC. So this is what's in Puerto Rico right now, and this one is not. Maybe someday.
Not yet.
Maybe someday when it's legal. But there's a big difference because you can see the labels are very different, and also the tops are different. So
very
nice.
Yeah.
With the cannabis, it's a child-proof top, and with the regular beer, it's normal. So very different.
I want to taste both of them. So
yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah, hopefully one day we can get our hands on. Well, legally it would be better.
It's the same with our IPA. So right now I'm drinking our IPA. It's a West Coast style IPA. It's dry hopped with Amarillo and Cascade hops, and it has a very rich head. So I just poured some right here. So it's a very, very nice aroma of Amarillo and Cascade hops. And this one is no alcohol. And in Colorado, we also sell it with cannabis. This is it with 10 milligrams of THC. So it's enough to equal maybe an Imperial IPA so that you can feel very relaxed.
The feeling would be on par with that. That sounds like. So Keith, since you're having the IPA, I want to go ahead and open mine. So
we're gonna
talk through the tasting notes and whatever. You see,
like 99 calories.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize that alcohol is the main driver of calories in beer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a typical IPA that has maybe 7% alcohol will have almost 200 calories in it, but ours has 99. So it's very, very nice and low in calories. We ferment it fully and then remove all the alcohol. And we brew it. Yeah, we brew it to have a beautiful color. So So should we go through a tasting?
For sure.
Yes, it's very floral.
The first thing I'm gonna say is, like, you're obviously gonna have a beer. Look at this. It's it's beautiful. It's got everything you'd be looking for in a nice.
Good head retention. So
people sometimes think like, oh, it's NA beer. It's not. I'm not gonna get the full experience, but just by looking and pouring at this thing, I can already. It's got a bunch of citrus notes coming from it.
Yeah, citrus and very floral too. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you pour it, you're absolutely right. You see it has a cloudiness, haziness because it's dry hopped, and so all the dry hops lead to this hazy effect in the beer, and it has a rich head, a very good foam because we brew it to have a very, very nice head. And
look at that.
And it stays there, but it's a very, very rich natural beer. The only ingredients are malt, hops, and water. So it's a very, very natural beer. The other thing is it's dry hopped with Amarillo and Cascade. So when you smell it, you get a very rich citrus, orange, really very fruity aroma, mainly from the Amarillo hops.
Yeah.
Which are very, they have a very nice citrusy orange aroma, different than Citra. And in the taste, when you taste it, we have a little more than 40 IBUs, so it's a really good smooth bitterness. Also, you get the taste of hops, that very rich citrus flavor in the mouth.
Completely.
And then we blend it with malts. We have a small amount of caramel malt to give just a hint of caramel sweetness. And then we have our base malt, which is a 2-row pale malt. And again, it's brewed to be very much in balance, to be an IPA, and to be very, very natural in the aroma and the taste.
It's kind of like it's like a very, tastes like a beer. It's like drinking literally a beer. It doesn't have any I don't know. It's beer, man. It's like I imagine a tasteless kind of water, but it's not. It's beer, man. It's beer.
It's delicious. You were talking about the balance in the and it's got a very nice like malty backbone, but just enough to it still lets the citrusiness from the hops shine through. So it's a very good
shine.
Yeah, it's a very nice rendition of a West Coast. I mean, if you wouldn't have told me it has no booze in it, it's spot on. Awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we worked really hard to create the recipe so it tastes like beer, but in fact, it has 0.0% alcohol, so there's no alcohol in this beer. And but the trick is the way that we make the beer. We brew it in a special way. And one thing that I have is I do have a PhD in brewing from the University of Brussels in Belgium. So I know a lot about how to make a very, very good tasting non-alcoholic beer.
That's an awesome background. You're obviously very experienced in this industry. That's one of the things we wanted to touch on. How did you guys get involved in the beer industry? How did you get to Ceria Brewing? How did you get to make this amazing?
Well, my background in beer goes way back to the 1980s. I became a home brewer in 1982, and then I started with the Coors Brewery in 1986. I went to Belgium to get my PhD in brewing in 1988, and then I created Blue Moon Brewing Company in 1995. So that was
one of the most famous.
Yeah.
It's the biggest craft beer in the United States and in the world. And then I retired because I was old enough to retire, so I retired. I'm actually 90 years old.
Inexperience.
Yes. So I retired in 2017, end of 2017, and my wife and I started Ceria Brewing Company with the goal of making only non-alcoholic beers, just plain non-alcoholic beers and non-alcoholic beers with cannabis in them. Nice. So we did that, and then Greg Miller joined us because he's been a friend from the Miller Coors days. He's an expert in the beer market, the sales of it, the marketing, the business part of it. So he does a lot of that for us to get out there, and he was the one who really took it to you guys in Puerto Rico. So we really appreciate everything that he does. But our goal is to make the best tasting non-alcoholic beers out there.
So making an IPA non-alcoholic is a great achievement. It's like
dealing with beers without alcohol, I would assume, is very difficult. It's even more difficult because, to deal with off flavors and that kind of thing. Yeah. I assume when you have zero alcohol, you got to get everything really correct in your process and everything to make it taste right, probably.
Right. There's a lot of science that you have to know to make the beer taste good, but also you have to brew it in a way that it has body, because a lot of non-alcoholic beers don't have any body. It's like drinking water.
Yeah, it's drinking water.
And you want it to have the body, the fullness, the bitterness of an IPA, and the smell. So we really dry hop our beer. There's a lot of beers out there that don't dry hop. They put in what they call it is liquid hops. It's more of a chemical hop that goes in, and it doesn't taste as natural. So that's the reason we use dry hops, because it really tastes good when you dry hop a beer.
And that gives you the same aroma from a real beer with alcohol. That alcohol gives you the solvents so that you can perceive more the hops. I think so, right? But if you don't have alcohol, you don't have that solvent. It's kind of difficult to do it.
Right, it makes it very difficult because you've got to brew the beer so that all the aroma comes out, so that the drinker can actually enjoy that nice hop aroma and really enjoy the citrus and the orange. And also, one thing we like is that our beers go very well with food. So you can have our IPA with a lot of a beef dish, even things like a hamburger, a beef, and it goes very well with chocolate too. So you could have just chocolates with this.
Nice. Keith, how about the name Ceria? How did you come with that name? What is the meaning?
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
So Ceria, you'll see it on our labels.
Yeah.
Yep.
It comes. Comes from two places. One, it comes from the name of the Greek goddess of agriculture named Ceres, and that's her on the can right there. So she's, and then you'll notice that she has
cannabis.
Yes.
Have a hop. Have the barley. Yeah.
Yeah. So right there, it's got cannabis and hops on her head.
Yeah.
But also the name Ceria comes from the campus in Belgium where I studied and got my PhD in brewing. So it's an acronym in French, and it stands for the Center for Teaching and Research in the Food Industries.
There's a lot to the name. I like
the name.
Yeah. It's a very specialized campus in Belgium where they teach culinary arts, they teach hotel and restaurant management, they teach brewing, chocolate making, all the good things in life.
a very well thought out name for the thing, because you think it looks awesome. I like the look of it.
Yeah.
It's like a classic, but I like that it has a lot of, so well thought out. Coming from a guy like you, it doesn't surprise me that it's got a lot of. We're getting a question here from a viewer. It's really interesting. One of the doubts that we had too. He's asking why does the can say less than 0.5% if it's just 0
Yeah, so that's a good question. These our labels are still they're the older labels. We are going through a label update this year. Well, we'll actually show that it's 0.0.
Wow.
Right now,
Wow.
the label says less than 0.5, but it's actually 0.0. And
So
we're
it
one of
doesn't have any alcohol.
right.
Oh,
Zero.
wow.
And it's very difficult to make 0% craft
Yes.
beer. So, but ours is craft, and to have the body and the taste, the bitterness, and the balance
A good beer. Yeah.
yes, very difficult to do in a 0.0, but we're able to do it, and we're very proud of our beer. The labeling and the brand won a national packaging award, and our brewery won Startup of the Year award last year, and so we've won some awards here, and we hope to really win more awards with our beer. So this year we'll start entering some contests, and we hope to have some medals, which we think our beers can actually win medals against alcoholic beer.
Nice. Can you explain the process of making a non-alcohol beer?
Yeah, for your listeners, I actually wrote an article in the New Brewer magazine, which is it's a magazine published by the Brewers Association, and it's published for craft brewers. So I wrote an article last year on how to make non-alcoholic beer because many craft brewers are interested in it. So there are really 4 different ways to make non-alcoholic beer. The first way is to use a special yeast that doesn't ferment and make alcohol. So that's one way. The next way is to do, it's called arrested fermentation. So arrested fermentation is where you take a regular process and you let the yeast ferment only for about maybe half a day. And then you stop it and filter the yeast out and make it cold so that you can't ferment anymore. And then the third process is to use mechanical means to remove alcohol. One is called vacuum distillation. And so with vacuum distillation, you ferment all the way and make a regular beer, and then you put the beer under a vacuum, and that lowers the boiling point of alcohol. So normally, alcohol boils off at about 173 degrees Fahrenheit. But under a vacuum, it boils off at maybe about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't cook the beer. And that's what we do. And we remove all of the beer, or all of the alcohol this way.
So it's the opposite of distillation, because the distillation is like giving more ABV, more alcohol.
Yeah, well, it removes the alcohol from the beer, yes. And then the fourth way to do it is using reverse osmosis, which is membranes. That will remove the alcohol. And then for the home brewers, I know you have a lot of home brewers who watch.
Yeah.
The best way that a home brewer can do it is to make their batch of beer and to boil off the alcohol. So after the aging is finished, they put the beer back into the brew kettle, and then they heat it to 173 degrees, and they hold it there, typically for about 30 minutes. And what they do is you can smell the alcohol boiling off. It's very strong, and when it's done with the aroma, then you know that most of the alcohol is gone. So home brewers can do this, and then after that they have to carbonate and then put it in the bottles.
Nice.
So, but
you're
gonna end up with probably like a weirder flavor in the finished product. If you take it to 173, you're probably gonna lose a lot of the aromas, a lot of volatiles that are gonna.
And that's why the best styles to make as a home brewer are stouts and porters, because then it's a very natural aroma that matches up with the way that home brewers can de-alcoholize the beer.
Okay.
Keith, did you learn about all this during your PhD in Belgium, or how did you learn all these methods? Were you just interested and got into it by yourself to study it, or how did you
No, in Belgium, they teach you all the ways of making beer, all the ways of making non-alcoholic beer, and all the ways you can do it. And so it's because some are very scientific and very, very involved. Others are very simple. Like arrested fermentation is very, very simple for a craft brewer to do, but the taste is not so good. For us, we want to have the best tasting non-alcoholic beers, so we use the methods that give us this flavor. So that's why it tastes like beer.
Yeah, it tastes like beer.
As far as you're aware, are most companies that are producing NA beers doing it this way, or
No,
is it it's a clear difference? So that's a part of why this tastes. I mean, at least the ones I've tried, this is like on another level of quality. I would
way up.
Yeah, because most craft brewers use the arrested fermentation method, and this it makes the beer taste a slightly sweet taste because there's still some wort in the beer, and the body is very thin, and so it's not it doesn't make the best tasting non-alcoholic beer. But for Ceria, we want to have the best tasting. So when people want a non-alcoholic beer, they'll choose ours because it tastes like beer. There's no, we don't make any compromise. It
Right.
tastes and smells like beer. And if you gave this to a craft beer drinker, my guess is they would be fooled and they would say, "Oh, I think that's a good IPA."
Yeah, it's like a very low ABV IPA, like a maybe 4% ABV.
Session IPA.
Yeah, a session IPA. Yeah.
Yes, session.
We
And
had
it's,
another question from
I think-
Delia, I believe. She
think
was
it's
asking what
Yeah.
do you guys do with the alcohol after removing it from the
She's pretty smart.
yeah.
Drink it.
Well, right now the alcohol just goes down the drain. So we
Oh.
it's a lot. It's for every batch of beer we make, we get about 300 gallons of pure alcohol that goes down the drain. So,
Wow, man.
but it's really good. It smells and tastes like almost vodka. It's
So
Like
maybe,
a moonshine.
That's beer.
maybe in the future you can make some vodka.
Yeah, a moonshine. Ceria
Yeah.
moonshine.
what's the average starting what's the average ABV of this beer when it's before you guys do the process? It's 6.5%, 7%, or
Yeah, so our IPA is about 6.5% ABV,
Wow.
and then our Belgian white comes in at about 5.5% ABV, and then after we run it through our process, it gets down to 0.0.
Okay. I think
it-
we have a question from
Ramon?
for
yeah, there it is.
this is
You guys
this is for
get up.
Greg. I think that Greg can show.
Greg
some-
can answer
some-
this one,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so what we've seen in terms of the data, at least from the U.S. perspective, is it's the mix is heavier from a woman's perspective at this point. As we know, women lead trends and tend to be a little bit brighter, so they are definitely leading in the NA category, is what we've seen. Now, millennials and Gen Zs are really heavy into this as we all look at it. Health and wellness is where we're really focused as a brand at this point. Our key differentiators, you're looking at one of them today, Keith, one of the preeminent brewers in the country, in the world, frankly. And then what makes us different, and that Keith didn't touch on, is the quality of the product. It's hard to be a sales guy for Keith because he is so quality focused that it kind of derails some of the things. So we've tested at 6 months. We found shelf life is great at 9. So we also do something that not every NA beer does. We pasteurize, which makes there's more complexity. So you can see the steps is it's every bit more complicated than a traditional alcohol brew. So what we're seeing is the younger generation gets all this. They've understood that health and wellness are important. COVID has played frankly a positive role because we're all self-evaluating more. Dry January this year was a really good month for us as people again focus on health and wellness, but we think it's really becoming a 365 day a year kind of perspective on, okay, we got to look at this. So some new data points we've seen is actually 64% of drinkers in the NA category now are actually doing what we talked about earlier. They're actually starting with full alcohol beers, and then they will switch to NA beers during the same occasions. So most of the occasions we are seeing are at home occasions, but to be honest with you, I think it's the breakfast of champions. I have it usually as part of my breakfast at about 10 a.m. on a lot of my calls. That's the beauty. There is no occasion. Our occasions are water occasions, tea occasions, cola occasions. We aren't, there for just, a normal beer occasion. We happen to be an NA beverage that can be drunk anytime. And can be and had just like you would with water or tea. And so you're starting to see Heineken do a little of this work with having beer at the office, having beer while you're driving a car. We absolutely believe in this direction.
So how about the shelf life of the product?
We have a shelf life of 9 months, and we feel good at that point. But we're testing to see if we can stretch it out to 1 year. But at this point, we feel comfortable at 9 months.
Okay, 9 months. Yeah.
So let's open the second.
The second beer,
Grain Wave. So that's
a fun fact for your group. Just so I always say this, and everybody makes fun of me, but understand how little alcohol we have less alcohol than a ripe banana. Think of it that way.
Wow,
so it's when we compare a ripe banana to our beers, I ask people, "What do you think?" And they always, of course, pick the beer, but they're not right. The ripe banana.
Less alcohol than amarillos. Less alcohol than amarillos.
A shot of Nike will have more alcohol than your beer.
Exactly. Don't have soy sauce. There's a ton of alcohol in soy sauce.
Yes.
So whoever says I don't trust the process, just ask them, do you eat bananas?
Exactly.
Let's go for this one.
Okay,
the aroma.
So this one,
you can talk about.
this one is patterned like Blue Moon, Belgian white. That has it's brewed with oats, wheat, and barley malt. And in the brew kettle, we spice it with German hops, and then we add coriander and orange peel. We mix orange peel to have a really high amount of blood orange peel, so it's very, very fruity.
It's very fruity. It's very have that citrus. It's like it's smelling literally a orange, a piece of orange.
Yes.
You don't need a piece of orange in this one.
It's got a very, very rich orange zest.
Very sharp citrus note.
Yes,
and it's cloudy, like a Belgian. Belgian wheat. It's very cloudy.
Exactly. We do not filter this, so it's very cloudy and very natural. And you see also, we have a great foam, a great head on this one too, because we brew it to have really good head, so that when you pour it in a glass, it looks like a beer, because it is a beer. It just does not have alcohol. And this one, as you smell
both of them.
Oh man, this is fantastic.
Yeah. So you smell it. You smell the orange, and then as you taste it, you taste the malts. You taste the orange. This one has a lighter body than the IPA because it's a Belgian white, and it should be more refreshing. And so this one is very refreshing in the summertime. It's a very nice beer.
Keith, I'm fairly sure of the answer, but this was probably inspired by your amazing success.
Your baby. Yeah.
This is pretty amazing. That
your first home run. This is your second home run.
That you got something. Whoever likes Belgian wheat beers, give this a shot, because you're gonna be pretty amazed at the.
Man, this is a very complex beer it's a very complex beer.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any alcohol, but it's very complex. Have everything about a beer.
Right.
Especially a Belgian wheat.
Yeah. It's a Belgian wheat, and it's patterned. Yeah, Blue Moon, I guess, is my baby. This is my grandbaby. So this one is I'm very proud of it because it's a Belgian white that has no alcohol. It's got the body, the aroma, the look, the appearance of a Belgian white. But again, you can drink these, and like Greg said, you can drink these in the morning. You could drink it at lunch. You could drink it when you're driving. It's because there's zero alcohol, so it's like drinking a Coke or a Pepsi. No difference, except that this
is better. This beer doesn't have too much calories. It's drinking beer is better than drinking an orange or like a Coca, a soda or whatever.
Yeah, this one has 77 calories, so it's really really nice. If this had alcohol, a Belgian white with alcohol will normally have about 165 calories. Ours has 77, so it's nice and light and healthy, like Greg said.
Keith, our director have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
About the hop
Do you
creep?
see it?
And okay, the question is, do you worry about hop creep and oxygenation like a regular IPA? For the listeners who don't know what hop creep is, what happens when you make an IPA is that there are certain, I would say, enzymes, certain things in the hops that break down the starches, and they make the beer more thin and not the way that the brewer wants. And so they call this hop creep. For us, we don't have that because we take our beer and dry hop it, and then we pasteurize it. And the pasteurization will kill those enzymes. So we don't have to worry about hop creep.
So it never gets the chance to start developing the diacetyl thing and all that. All right.
No. Awesome. So we're safe. Again, our beers are stabilized. So for two reasons. One is for the product quality, and two, it's to make sure that nothing grows in our beer. It's very safe.
Do you guys have any other non-alcoholic beers besides these two, or are these the ones you're?
We have other prototypes, but these two are the ones we're selling right now because the two main styles in the world of craft beer that sell the most beer are IPA and Belgian white. And so for those people that really enjoy craft beer, they usually have IPA or Belgian white. And so we have those two styles available. We can make any style, but for now, it's these two. And in the future, we probably will do some specialties, seasonals or just one-off specialty beers, because we have a lot of fans out there, and I'm sure in Puerto Rico we'll have even more fans that want some unique beers, something like maybe our cinnamon or chata beer, or we can develop all kinds of new beers for different markets. So we want to have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
Is the process for I'm sorry, is the process for converting, the beer to an NA beer, do you have to specifically work on that process for each recipe, or is it something that once you get it right, you can apply to whatever you want?
No, you have to work on it for each different style so that it's appropriate. For example, the Belgian white, this one, the brewing process is much different than the IPA because this one, it doesn't have that heavy body that the IPA has. This one is a light body. This one also has all the balance from the hops, the malts, the oats, and so we have a special process for brewing to make sure the flavors come through. So yeah, each one is very unique, and that's why it takes a lot of effort to create each of our beers.
There's a question from our friend Rick Suarez.
what or who was the inspiration for a Belgian white? The inspiration originally was during my time in Belgium when I was studying for my PhD. I was there. I lived there with my wife, and I really loved the Belgian styles. And this was before Belgium became a famous place for beer. In 1988, it wasn't so famous, but I fell in love with the beers of Belgium back then. And so the one style that I thought was very good and very, very refreshing was Belgian white. And so that was the inspiration for Blue Moon and for our Ceria grain wave.
Nice.
And I should also say that if you look on our cans, you don't see that it says Belgian white. And that's because when you don't have alcohol in a beer, the government, this is in Washington, D.C., it's the Alcohol Tax and Trade Bureau. They don't allow us to put the style of beer when it doesn't have alcohol. So we cannot call it Belgian white. It's called Belgian style hops, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
But that's
the government in the States is not more difficult than ours.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's yeah. So even our IPA, we can't call it an IPA. We have to call it
Hoppy with smooth citrus character.
Yes. It's what does that mean? But that's what the government they made us call it these things because we're not allowed to call it IPA because there's no alcohol. So we're pushing to change the laws so that we can call this an IPA with no alcohol. And this one is a Belgian white with no alcohol because the consumers, whether they're on the mainland or in Puerto Rico, consumers want to know what's in this can. Because they're going to pay a premium for the beer, and they want to make sure that they know what's there, that it's a Belgian white or it's an IPA. And so that's why we're pushing, and we hope that we can get the law changed.
Joey, ¿cómo fue que tú conseguiste? Sorry.
Keith,
I have a question. What's the time frame of difference between making the indie wave and the grain wave? Is there like a time frame difference, or is it the same time to cook the beer between both of the beers?
Well, the indie wave takes a longer time because we dry hop it. So dry hopping for your homebrewing fans, when you typically dry hop with natural hop pellets, you will take up to about 3 days of just dry hopping, having good exposure to the hops, so you get that full aroma and full flavor. Some people go as long as 5 or 6 days. So in that time frame of 3 to 5 days, you're exposing the beer to the hops, and you're getting all that fantastic hop flavor.
Holy.
Nice.
Any plans to make like hazy IPA or NAPA in the near future for Celis?
We are able to, but right now with our launch, we want to make sure that our beers, these ones, Indie Wave and Grain Wave, are successful first. We want to get them in the market and have them be very successful as craft NA beers on the mainland and in Puerto Rico, up in Canada. We want to make sure that people love our two beers first, and then we can experiment with new styles.
Joey, ¿cómo fue que tú conseguiste el traer el producto a Puerto Rico?
Well, they asked me how did we get Ceria to come to the island. So I started reading some of the magazines, and like you said, Keith, it was one of the upcoming new products, new breweries and stuff like that. So I just sent an email to your web pages. Greg sent me Greg answered me, so that's how we started, like calling each other and like, Greg, let's do this. This is what we need. He's on board. We are on board, and thanks for doing this, Keith and Greg. Man,
let's go.
Puerto Rico, at least. It took us a little of time because it was during COVID. You know, our government employees were not working from the office and stuff like that, so we couldn't get the approvals fast enough. but it's finally here. So beer just arrived like 2 weeks ago. So man, we are very excited, So let's
We
hope we can repeat this.
Yeah, and we really appreciate Ballester Hermanos in taking our product to Puerto Rico, because we feel that there's a big market on the island, because a lot of people there are healthy. They stay healthy. They walk on the beach, jog, and for us, we think our beers are part of a really nice healthy lifestyle. So. And whether it's men or women, they can enjoy our beers and just stay healthy.
And right now, people is like they're being in their houses like maybe 6 or 7 months, and they have this little problem of overweight, and they want to get out some of that weight. And this is a better a nice interesting product, because you have the beer, but you're not consuming any calories.
Yeah, and you could socialize with your friends. Of course, socialize responsibly, but you can socialize, you can have fun, and drink. It's drinking beer, but no alcohol and low calories. So it's a great way to go out and have fun, and rather than stay home and just eat and eat and eat.
One of the things we talked to Joey about was the fact that any alcohol, if you take alcohol out of most products, it's actually pretty healthy for you. And if you look at just the simplicity of our ingredients and the science with the ingredients and what the grains and the hops do, there's actually a ton of science that says it's very healthy for you. So you had a question, someone who is pregnant was wondering, can they have it? Yeah, absolutely. I talked to Joey. We're selling to health clubs, because this is actually better for you after a workout than a Gatorade or anything else that is full of fake sugar, right? I mean, this is a real product. So we think, again, there's so much upside outside of just normal, occasions where people have traditionally used NA. This can be used to benefit after a workout, just to benefit where you're out mowing, and again, any occasion, because there's a ton of data and science that shows that this product without the alcohol is actually very good for you. And so that's one of the things. We don't add sugars back into the beer to make it more full bodied. That's the beauty of Keith. He knows and understands to do that. So what you're seeing when you see 3 ingredients, it doesn't get any simpler than that. You really understand what's going into your body, which we think is more important than actually exercise, right? What you consume is going to be better for you or healthier for you than, exercise is important, of course, but we think what you consume is, if not more important, just as important as exercise. So this product is wonderful in so many different ways.
This is more healthy than a store-bought orange juice or some kind of juice, because they have a lot of chemicals and sugars.
Yep.
And I think and this tastes better, much better.
Plus, orange juice that you get from the store will typically have more alcohol than our beer.
Right.
Greg, where can people find the beer besides Colorado and Puerto Rico right now?
For NA, we're distributed through most of the Northeast, up and down the seaboard, all the way to Virginia, and then we're just expanding in the Midwest now. So Wisconsin, St. Louis, we just got into Texas. So a lot of new markets as we're getting up and running and getting distributors signed up. So it's been a really exciting time.
And the THC ones are just in Colorado, or are you also targeting states where it's becoming, recreational?
Yes, we're targeting all states. We're hoping to be in California very soon, and then hopefully the Northeast after that. So plenty of opportunity on that side as well.
And then Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we're open to anything.
But again, we do want to say that people, because sometimes we get our customers, they say, well, I'm afraid to drink it because it might have THC. But no, it's like I said, the cans are very different. So this is the regular one. This is the THC one, and you can see the top. The top is there, and then on the THC one, there's all the warnings, the THC warnings, and the final thing is you can only get the THC one in dispensaries, so it's very, very controlled. So that's why your customers, they don't have to be afraid that they might accidentally drink a THC, because it's very, very clear that these can only be bought in a dispensary, and there's many warnings on it. So
it's not going to be in Total Wine. It's not going to be. Don't worry.
One question, Keith. Does the THC beer has any ABV?
No, same beer. It's the same beer, but we put the THC in it. So, and with the IPA, we put 10 milligrams of THC plus 10 milligrams of CBD. And then in the Belgian white, that one we put 5 milligrams of THC.
Okay.
Is there any slight noticeable difference in the flavor, or literally they taste the same, the THC version or the regular NA?
There's a slight difference because the cannabis, we don't have the taste of cannabis or the smell of cannabis. We only use the THC and CBD, but those compounds taste bitter. So you have to compensate with your hopping to make sure that it's not too bitter when the cannabis comes in.
Nice.
Science.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm writing a book.
The THC infused beer is good for you too.
Yes.
And the Brewers Association asked me to write a book on cannabis, brewing with cannabis. And so it'll be out on Amazon. Well, actually, August 1st, it'll be available. But right now, you can pre-order it on Amazon. If you go and type in brewing with cannabis, the cover of the book will come up, and you'll see this book. But it goes into all the ways that home brewers and professional brewers can make cannabis beer. So.
It will be a top seller.
For sure.
A blockbuster,
Blockbuster.
Yeah. I see
another
a
question from a viewer here.
How much, this is from Alexander Rivera, how much under pressure must be distilled to extract the alcohol at low temperature? So this, we don't use pressure because we use a vacuum. So with the pressure, that's what you use when you use reverse osmosis. And you use a lot of pressure, sometimes as much as 500 or 600 pounds per square inch. So it's very, very high for reverse osmosis. We use a vacuum for ours. And when you do that, there's no pressure. It's a vacuum, and that lowers the boiling point to, like I said, about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can boil off all that alcohol without spoiling the flavor.
Nice.
Got a pretty funny comment here, and one must have. Let me show it here. There it is.
Why not?
You never know.
Part of a complete breakfast.
What do you want?
Another fun fact: in 2001 in Belgium, they took out sodas and they went with low alcohol beer for kids' schools. So that tells you something.
There you go.
They're way ahead of us.
We got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
We have another question from Alexander also.
Okay, yeah. The question is, how do they add THC? Is it in oil? And yes, it's oil, but we use a special process to make it water soluble. So we make a process to make it water soluble, then it goes into the beer. Otherwise, it's oil, so it'll float. Yeah. So you must make it water soluble. And in my book, I talk about different ways that homebrewers and craft brewers can make THC water soluble to put into beer, water, seltzer, anything.
Nice.
A bunch of people have asked me, like, if you were to make a cannabis infused beer, and I literally have like no idea because of the oil, and a lot of people that have tried it, obviously not reading your book, have told me, like, don't even bother, you'll just get a mess of oil and beer, and it's just like, just smoke the thing and then drink a beer on the side. But you guys are obviously
I enjoy it.
Yeah,
the book is gonna be a good seller.
So there's two important.
Buy the book. So
with cannabis. Number one is you do have to make it water soluble, but prior to that, what you have to do is you have to decarboxylate it. That means in the plant, the THC exists in a form that it's called THC acid. So it's a form that won't make you high or anything, and that's why it requires heat to break apart the acid and make it into the psychoactive form of THC. That's why when you smoke it, the heat does that naturally. If you cook with it, it does it naturally. And when you brew with it, you have to heat it separately and make it active, and then put it in the beer with a water-soluble way.
It's a bit more complicated than just throwing it in there. So
yes, yeah, it is.
Got a question here from Rick. I guess you guys can both answer that.
Yeah, Greg, why don't you do it first, and then I'll answer it, Greg.
Wow. Would it be terrible? Yeah, I would. But a full alcohol beer, is that what he's asking? So I've. And okay, you're talking to a guy that worked for Miller Coors for 25 years. All right, so my heavier beer, I'm absolutely in Guinness lately, and like the beer that took me from a kid to my adult life, it was Miller Lite. That's what I've been drinking. when the chips are down, I always go to Miller Lite.
Nice. If it ain't broke, why fix it, huh?
Yeah,
exactly.
Keith, for me, when I'm not drinking my own beer, I always love Trappist beers. So my favorite Trappist is Westmalle Triple from Belgium. That's my favorite, and then their Double is my second favorite. But any of the Trappist beers are always good. The ones I don't like are the quadruples. Those are too sweet and alcoholic.
Yep.
But I love those. And then the other ones I really love are Imperial IPAs. So those are fantastic.
You probably have one of the most badass homebrew systems.
Yeah.
He showed us his homebrew setup before the show, and it's pretty amazing. So I'm sure
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a 2-barrel system, so I can make 2 barrels at a time, and I can make any style from sours to Imperial IPAs, anything. And it's a really high-tech homebrew system that's computer controlled. Also, my mill, I can adjust the mill to get any grind that I want. It's a perfect pilot system, and it's fun. Who knows? Maybe in the future we may do something to have a competition to come and help us brew someday. So it'll be
awesome.
There you go. There you go.
In Spanish, me gusta. Me gusta.
We love it. Yeah.
I like it.
Count us in.
Yeah, man.
So there's
group to do that.
It's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun to brew. As you guys know, it's fun to make beer and to share it with your friends. And it's no different with us at Ceria. You know, we're making our beers and sharing it with friends, and it's just it's all about having fun and socializing, and we just don't do it with alcohol with our beer.
These honestly, I mean, I couldn't be more impressed. You know, from what I've had in the NA industry, it's. I haven't had a ton, but these are like completely, like if I would have had like it would have been just another West Coast IPA, a good one at that, and this is like a straight up, it's on the money Belgian white. So
it's just a very very awesome beers.
I think we got last question.
I enjoy it very much.
Thank you, salud. Yeah,
we have one last question from Juanma. Natalia,
you want to take this one? Yep. There it is.
Have we tried to de-alcoholize a commercial craft beer? Well, our beers undergo the process, and they are typical craft beers, but they're not offered. So when we make our IPA, it's not offered as an alcoholic one, but it is very similar to traditional commercially available IPAs. So the question is really what we're always doing. We take regular beers and we de-alcoholize them. So, and we can de-alcoholize anything from a 12% imperial all the way down to a light beer. We can remove all that alcohol.
So you can make the triple that you like. The triple and the quad.
Where's
yes,
mine?
yes.
The
imperial ones, yeah.
Yes.
Imperial IPA. Yeah.
In Germany, they use this technology of removing the alcohol, and they sell the alcohol. They call it beer schnapps, and it typically has about 30 to 40% ABV. And so in the future, we may do that with our alcohol that we collect, because when you remove the alcohol, it has a hint of the beer flavor. The alcohol from our IPA, we take the alcohol out, and it has a hint of the Amarillo hops, the Cascade hops. It's a really nice, like vodka almost. And then the alcohol that we remove from our grain wave, it has hint of orange and a hint of coriander in it. And it's a very nice 40% ABV spirit. It's very, very, it's a nice, easy drinking spirit. It's good on a hot day, on a cold day. And it's have that nice alcohol. But anyway, that's in the future. Right now, we're focused on making our non-alcoholic beers.
It'd be really cool if you guys can go full circle and have a bunch of products from the same process. That's sounds good.
So at least we can guarantee it's the best NA beer on the island, for sure.
I have to agree with that.
And it's craft too. It's a craft beer, so that's really
exactly.
Because Heineken, they make their 0.0 Heineken, and but that's it's a great beer, but it's mass produced. Ours is a craft, and it's very difficult to make a craft NA. And as you taste, ours is 0.0, and it's craft, and our IPA tastes like an IPA. Our Belgian white tastes like a Belgian white, and we're very proud of these beers. They go very good with food. The Belgian white goes really well with seafood. It goes really well with light white meat, chicken, pork, and the IPA goes really well with beef. It goes well with chocolate, and so you can have a nice beer dinner with our non-alcoholic beers.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. I really enjoyed it. It's a very nice product and very well done. Yeah,
Thank you.
Before we go, we have a couple of announcements. Now I will change to Spanish. Okay. Antes de irnos, tenemos varios anuncios. Queremos anunciar, que ya lo anunciamos en la vez pasada, en el episodio pasado, pero queremos volver a recalcarles cuáles van a ser nuestros próximos dos live. Los próximos van a ser, señor director, tira el primero, que es el próximo martes 16 de marzo, en vez de las 8 como hoy, va a ser a las 7 de la noche. Vamos a tener a Gareth Oliver, el Brewmaster y el autor de The Brewmaster Table y el editor de Oxford Companion to Beer. Es una leyenda viviente. O sea, vamos a estar hablando de maridaje, de la historia de él, etcétera, etcétera. Gareth Oliver, tremendo recurso que va a estar con nosotros el próximo martes 16 de marzo. Y el otro que le sigue, la otra invitada que vamos a tener el próximo, señor director, el 23 de marzo a las 8 de la noche. Este sí va a ser a las 8 de la noche. Vamos a tener a Julia Hertz y vamos a estar hablando con ella. Ella es una educadora, una advocate de la cerveza. Él se encargó de escribirlo. Él tiene un libro también de maridaje con cerveza, etcétera, que vamos a tener a Julia Hertz el próximo 23 de marzo a las 8 de la noche. Ya, ¿cuál es la fecha? Apúntenla, después le digan que no se lo dije. En vivo, apunten sus preguntas, las preguntas que ustedes tengan. Para eso estamos aquí, para eso hacemos estos live, para que sea más divertido, para que la gente pregunte, para que pregunte lo que les dé la gana. Y no, como yo siempre digo, no hay pregunta estúpida. Si no la hace, pregunta, o nosotros no nacimos sabiendo. Esto es para que ustedes aprendan y compartan con nosotros esas dos fechas. Well, Keith and Greg, Thank you for being with our show, in our podcast.
Yeah.
Keith, where we can find more information about Ceria, Brewing, your web pages, your
about your book, about everything.
Facebook, book, whatever you want to talk.
Yeah, we've got our Facebook page, our Instagram. So yeah, follow us because we're posting all the time about the things we're doing, about my upcoming book on brewing with cannabis. And we just love to interact with all of our friends out there. So yeah, please follow us on Instagram, and you'll learn all about everything we're doing.
Nice.
Also, Greg,
thank you. Cheers, guys. We greatly appreciate your time. We're excited to be on the island and can't wait to come down and visit and share a couple of. You can tell he's the home brewer of the triples. I'm drinking Miller Lite. So yeah, we'll share beers all types when we get down there. We're looking forward to it.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your knowledge. We had a great time. It's amazing to meet you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joey. Thank you for getting our beers down there. It's amazing. But cheers to all of you.
Joey,
thank you guys for approving it. A nosotros nos consigue Craft Beer Puerto Rico, Facebook e Instagram, y la Noteca ahí en Guaynabo, 787-250-7780, y todos nuestros productos los consiguen en todas las tiendas de cerveza artesanal y las quinitas en Bayamón.
Ya está, ya la pueden conseguir, la beer, la pueden conseguir ya ahí.
Quique, cuéntame si la pueden conseguir, sí o no, Quique, cuéntame.
Definitivo. ¿Sabes que sí?
¿Cuáles son las redes tuyas donde pueden conseguir tu número de teléfono? Eso no, esa parte no.
Esa. La esquinita Jardín Cervecero, ahí en Bayamón, como está diciendo Joey, pueden conseguir las dos Ceria, las tenemos disponibles ya. Y Enrique Fernández en Facebook, cualquier pregunta, lo que sea, me avisan y los trato de ayudar.
Arturo, cuéntanos dónde pueden conseguir.
En Facebook como Arturo Ferrer y en Instagram como Minimalix, con la X y T al final. Mira.
Ahí está, para ti.
Y jole.
A mí. Espérate, que el señor director no me quiere ponchar. Espérame, esto lo digo aquí. Director está dormido. Ahí estoy yo en primera persona. Pues a mí me pueden conseguir bajo Jorge K. Ramón Lu en Facebook. Me consiguen en Instagram bajo Ramones Brew. Y ahora nos consiguen por todos lados: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, la madre de los tomates, donde usted quiera. Nos consiguen a los 5, nos consiguen, a todos nos consiguen en Breaking News, Beer and Coffee. Será hasta la próxima. ¡Salud!
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Stick around for a second, Keith and Greg, to take a screenshot after the outro. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Don't go.
Gracias a todos por el apoyo, muchachos. Gracias a todos los que nos están viendo y siguiendo. Denle en share, ayúdennos a seguir esparciendo el conocimiento y esparciendo esto que tanto queremos y tanto amamos, que es la cerveza. Aunque sea sin alcohol, con alcohol, sin alcohol, lo que sea, pero es cerveza. Vamos para adelante. ¡Salud!
Salud. Cheers.